Good afternoon, and welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program.
The Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news, and Dolores County Broadcasting Network provides the support for DCTV.
The News at Noon program assembles the best and most interesting news from the area, offers intriguing content for its viewers, and provides local weather for the Four Corners region. What do you think? Give us a call with news tips or topics you'd like to see covered. The number is 677-4119.
I'm Kendra Cook, and my co-hosts are Kelsey Kiesling here at the desk with me, and Jerry Tope brings you the all-important local weather forecast in just a bit. Now here's what's news for you today, July 26, 2016. From the Durango Herald, a Durango woman was rescued by helicopter Monday from Engineer Mountain after experiencing health complications. John Joni Bender, 64, was in good spirits and undergoing tests Monday at Mercy Regional Medical Center, said her husband, Dan Bender, who is also spokesman for the La Plata County Sheriff's Office and has assisted in numerous regional rescues. Dan Bender, who was not with his wife at the time of the incident, said she was hiking with two church friends when she blacked out, possibly from altitude sickness. Search and rescue had a classical quick response, Bender said. We were thankful for all of the efforts involved. Emergency workers were notified about noon of the situation, and they had a helicopter in the air in or about 12:10 p.m. Because of the high elevation, the helicopter had to hover for a while to burn off fuel before loading the patient, said Butch Knowlton, director of La Plata County Search and Rescue. Joni Bender had trouble walking to the helicopter, but she ultimately was able to make it on board with some assistance. The helicopter took off about 1:10 p.m. en route for Mercy Regional Medical Center. Emergency responders considered closing U.S. Highway 550 near the top of Coal Bank Pass for safety reasons while the helicopter was in the area, but the highway remained open. Joni Bender regularly hikes in the area, but usually not at such a high elevation, which was over 12,000 feet. After blacking out, she couldn't stand and had difficulty breathing. Those symptoms have all pretty well gone away, Dan Bender said shortly before 4 p.m. on Monday. She's thankful for having friends with her that were able to keep cool heads and request help. She's thankful for the helicopter crew and search and rescue people that responded. It was a joint operation between San Juan and La Plata County search and rescue crews.
According to the Cortez Journal, next week, Colorado Parks and Wildlife officials will be treating a 2-mile section of the East Fork of Hermosa Creek as part of ongoing efforts to eliminate invasive fish species and restore native Colorado River cutthroat trout to the watershed. The section, which stretches from below Sig Creek Falls to just above the confluence on the main stem, will be treated with an organic pesticide, or rotenone, to rid the creek of brook trout. Rotenone poses no threat to terrestrial wildlife or humans, according to a news release issued Monday by Parks and Wildlife. Biologists also plan to use a neutralizing agent just below the treatment area to prevent any fish kills downstream. It is important to do what we can to ensure that we have native trout and they can thrive in Colorado water, because in our age of climate change, our age of forest fires, there is a risk of having them wiped out by catastrophic events, said Buck Skillen with Trout Unlimited, a stakeholder in the project along with Parks and Wildlife and the U.S. Forest Service. This is one step in creating roughly 23 miles of cutthroat river on the East Fork and main stem of Hermosa Creek, he said. Signs will be posted at areas closed to the public during the process, which is slated from August 2nd to August 3rd. As the agency did last summer when this section was treated, Parks and Wildlife crews will use a neutralizing agent, which may cause a rusty discoloration of the water temporarily below the treatment area to prevent fish kills downstream. A rock barrier will be installed at the completed section to prevent the infiltration of non-native fish species. If no brook trout are found in this section when it is checked later this summer, Colorado River cutthroat could be stocked this fall.
From the Durango Herald, a commercial aircraft landed safely Monday at the Durango-La Plata County Airport after reporting nose gear problems. Michelle Moeller and her son Max, age 12, were on the United Airlines flight that landed safely Monday at the Durango-La Plata County Airport. The plane experienced issues with its landing gear in its nose. The pilot said, "We are going to circle around the airport and try to coax the landing gear down, and not to worry," Moeller said. "It didn't come down by itself, so they manually put it down." United Airlines Flight 5849 is on the ground without incident, said Tony Vicari, interim director of aviation for the airport. The plane, which landed at 4:30 p.m., had to circle for about a half an hour to burn off fuel before touching down. The landing was smoother than normal, said passenger Jennifer Alvarez. It was the most beautiful landing we have ever seen. Durango Fire Protection District had fire and medical personnel on scene. We take it seriously, Fire Marshal Carola Hanks said. Pilots reported the nose gear had been manually locked. They did a low-level flyby so we could verify it was down, Vicari said. They did have the two main gears and nose gear down. We have to make a judgment call on whether it's locked. There's always the chance it could collapse on impact. There were 56 people on board. Paramedics did go on board to make sure no one on board needed medical attention. That's standard procedure in an emergency landing, Vicari said. The emergency didn't significantly delay any flights. Another United Airlines flight that was taxiing to depart was delayed by about 3 minutes, he said, so the runway could be inspected to make sure there was no debris.
According to the Cortez Journal, proponents of an effort to gradually raise the minimum wage in Colorado submitted more than double the amount of signatures necessary to make the November ballot. Colorado Families for a Fair Wage submitted around 200,000 signatures to the Secretary of State's office on Monday. It takes 98,492 valid signatures to make the ballot. We had thousands of conversations with voters all across the state during this effort, and it's clear that Colorado voters overwhelmingly support raising the minimum wage, said Patty Kupfer, campaign manager for the initiative. The effort would gradually raise the minimum wage to $12 by 2020. Proponents took the question to voters after the legislature failed to act. The proposal aims at addressing the current wage of $8.31, which hasn't kept pace with the state's increasing cost of living, according to proponents. A full-time minimum wage worker makes about $17,000 per year, or about $300 per week after taxes. Supporters of the effort point to research conducted by the left-leaning Center for Economic and Policy Research that shows that raising the minimum wage has little or no employment response. Raising the wage could actually boost job retention, as it would reduce employee turnover and increase productivity, according to the study. Proponents also say the proposal would not lead to consumer price increases. Opponents, however, point to dueling research which underscores that raising the wage would reduce potential employment in Colorado by 3.3%, eliminating over 90,000 jobs, and decrease wage and salary incomes by as much as $3.9 billion per year.
Reported in the Denver Post, Democrats plan to vote on their national platform and rules for this week's Democratic National Convention, and the contributions of Colorado officials are expected to make an impact in two key areas: marijuana use and how the party selects its presidential nominee. The pot provision was championed by Dennis Obdusky of Park County, a member of the platform committee, and it calls on Democrats nationally to support a policy that would remove marijuana as a Schedule I controlled substance and set a, quote, reasoned pathway for future legalization. Obdusky said the measure won by the thinnest of margins, 81-80, at an earlier meeting in Orlando, and it's already part of the platform. He said the effort was spurred by what he described as excessive rates of incarceration for marijuana violations. The other contribution from Colorado grew from a long-standing fight between supporters of Hillary Clinton and primary rival Bernie Sanders, specifically on the role of so-called superdelegates, who get to vote on the party's presidential nominee but are not required to follow the electoral results of the states they represent. The issue was a big one for Colorado this year for both parties, as Democrats in the state selected 41 Sanders delegates to 25 for Clinton. But Colorado's 12 superdelegates, which include Governor John Hickenlooper and U.S. Senator Michael Bennet, overwhelmingly backed Clinton, and their support, along with other superdelegates nationally, was instrumental in the former U.S. Secretary of State edging out Sanders to become the presumptive Democratic nominee. Sanders supporters want that arrangement changed, a movement that gained steam this week following the resignation of U.S. Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz as DNC chair in response to the publication of leaked emails that showed her staff working to undercut Sanders during the presidential primary. The superdelegate fight has the potential to erupt on the convention floor this week, though 2 Colorado officials have worked to ease tensions. Colorado delegates said former Denver Mayor Wellington Webb, along with Skip Batson, a member of the Rules Committee from Denver, played a role in crafting a plan to create a commission to study the superdelegate issue, which includes a mandate to reduce the number of superdelegates. Copies of the proposal were distributed Monday morning at a breakfast for Colorado delegates at a hotel near the convention center, and the reaction to the idea was cautiously optimistic among Sanders delegates. It's expected to come up Monday as part of a vote on a broader rule package for the convention. Quote, "It's voter suppression at its finest," said State Representative Joel Salazar, a Sanders delegate of the superdelegate process. He described the reform proposal as a start, but that it would require opponents to keep fighting.
According to the Durango Herald, authorities said Saturday that new tests show there is no evidence of a marijuana chemical in a Colorado community's tap water, and they believe the initial tests were false. Warnings not to drink the water were lifted Saturday after multiple tests confirmed there was no THC, marijuana's psychoactive ingredient, in the water. "We are happy to report that the water advisory is canceled immediately. Please resume any and all water activities," the sheriff's office notified residents on its Facebook page. Lincoln County Sheriff's Captain Michael Yowell said Saturday that there is evidence that a shed covering a city well was tampered with and that investigation is continuing. He said the manufacturer of the test kits has been contacted to find out why some tests came back positive. "There never was THC in our water supply. We did get multiple tests showing the possibility of THC, but independent tests were taken by different people at different times and places showed no evidence of THC," Yowell said. He said a shed covering the wellhead was broken into, but there was no indication who was responsible or when it occurred. Yowell said the shed is protected only by a padlock like many other wells on Colorado's eastern plains, but someone gained entry by breaking into a side of the shed. Yowell said many community wells are at risk of being contaminated. And now, here's our weather report.
Here in Dolores County, we will continue today with scattered showers and thunderstorms in the central and southern higher elevations. Some of these will have brief heavy rain and strong gusty outflow winds. This activity will decrease this evening and be gone by tomorrow. For tomorrow and the remainder of the week, we'll have drier, warmer conditions as the high moves a little to the west, pulling dry air in from the northwest. By this weekend, the high will shift to the east and allow some showers and thunderstorms to develop as those systems you see in the furthest south of the image begin to affect our area. As these begin, while the air will still be dry, there will be gusty winds and lightning. The storms will increase in coverage and strength in the early part of next week and offer up temperatures just a touch cooler. The mid-Atlantic states through the mid-Mississippi Valley and the Central Plains will have scattered showers and thunderstorms today. The Gulf Coast, Central, and Northern Plains will see the most severe weather with flash flooding possible in Nebraska and South Dakota. Today, as well as tomorrow, this activity will continue and spread out over a larger area and intensify. Above average temperatures are forecast to continue along much of the eastern U.S. through the middle of the week. Afternoon high temperatures today and Wednesday will be 5 to 10 degrees above average for many areas. Heat advisories remain in effect for portions of Virginia and the Carolinas. Mid-90 temperatures will prevail until the weekend and then cool ever so slightly as our next moisture begins to arrive. Lows are all forecast for the upper 50s, and as always allow plus a few degrees for lower elevations and minus the same few degrees for higher territory. And now back to the news.
According to the Cortez Journal, American kids only spend an average of 4 to 7 minutes per day outside, according to Great Outdoors Colorado. Locally, the Montezuma Inspire Coalition is seeking to change that by providing youth in the county with programs, places, and pathways to get them outside, said coordinator Ellen Schinkel. The coalition, known as MIC, was awarded a $75,000 planning grant from GOCO, which was taken from the lottery fund. In July 2017, MIC will have the opportunity to apply for an implementation grant from GOCO, which could be $1 to $5 million. About 18 organizations in Montezuma County are members of the coalition, Schinkel said. The members are working to gather feedback from area youths on what they would like to see from the initiative. The group is focusing on designing those programs, places, and pathways to give kids access to outdoors. Many of those already exist, but Schinkel said there are barriers to them for many Montezuma County kids, particularly those in underserved populations. About 30% of county kids live below the poverty line, and 50% qualify for free or reduced lunches, according to Kids Count Colorado. Some kids simply don't know where to go outside, Schinkel said. Others don't have transportation options. Many adolescents have to take care of their siblings or work part-time jobs, eating up free time. On the other hand, there are many kids who already go outside regularly. Hunting and fishing are popular in the area among kids, and some adolescents work during the summer on trail maintenance projects through groups such as the Southwest Conservation Corps. Horseback riding also is common. We're finding different programs that suit different groups of kids, she said.
From the Cortez Journal, Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper and former Interior Secretary Ken Salazar say a recently released Republican Party platform that promotes the transfer of federal public lands to states is bad for the country. During a media phone conference July 19th, Democrat Hickenlooper sharply criticized the Republican movement to give up federal lands, calling it reckless and an assault on not just public lands in Colorado, but against all of our national public lands that have been held in trust for all Americans for over 200 years. The response came after the Republican National Committee released its party platform goals in advance of their national convention in Cleveland last week. The RNC platform stated, quote, Congress shall immediately pass universal legislation providing for a timely and orderly mechanism requiring the federal government to convey certain federal-controlled public lands to the states. The residents of state and local communities know best how to protect the land where they work and live. But Hickenlooper said he fears that such action could have unintended consequences, such as states selling the land for short-term economic gain. The country's 640 million acres of public lands are a core American value, Hickenlooper said. Putting them at risk is a slippery slope with long-term consequences that pull at the roots of the country. Montezuma County commissioners have expressed support for transferring of federal lands to state and county control. Last year, they lobbied the U.S. Forest Service to transfer Sage Hen, House Creek, and the McPhee Reservoir boat ramp over to the county. They want Sage Hen to reopen for camping and expressed frustration at the pace of bringing back marina services. In response, the San Juan National Forest, which manages recreation on McPhee, prioritized issuance of a concessionaire permit for the marina, and it reopened this year after a 15-year absence. Also in 2014, the county joined the controversial American Lands Council, which advocates for transfer of federal lands to states, except for national parks, wilderness areas, military bases, and Native American reservations. Commissioner James Lambert, a longtime advocate for state control of federal lands, said that when Colorado became a state, quote, legal language said the federal government would return the land to the state. Lambert said that if the state had control of federal lands, there would be more opportunity for logging, mining, and oil and gas production. Quote, right now, the federal lands are managed on a one-size-fits-all approach out of Washington, D.C., and that does not work, he said. Regulations for mining, oil and gas, and logging right now are extremely burdensome. Obtaining federal lands will be an uphill battle, Lambert said. First, the state must prepare a plan to make them on a persistent goal of the Utah legislature. But the Colorado legislature rejected a bill that would have paved the way to research the transfer of federal lands, such as building up agencies such as the State Forestry Department to handle the job. Also, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump is not gung-ho about transferring federal lands to the states. Lambert said Trump is, quote, not in favor of it because he is not a Westerner. He's a talented businessman who's an expert in building golf courses and high-rises, but if he were elected, he could be educated on the practical advantages of federal transfer of lands.
According to the Durango Herald, Team Energy Audacity may have come in last in the Solar Car Challenge, but the two teenagers' grit in the face of obstacles and the lessons they learned make them winners nonetheless. Recent Animas High School graduates Dominique "Dommy" Fritiger and Dylan Crows, both 18, spent almost 6 months designing and building their car, Solus, with the support of community members and businesses. Their goal was to enter the challenge, which pits high school teams from across the country in creating a roadworthy car and driving from Fort Worth, Texas to Minneapolis. Solus traveled 215.9 miles during the challenge after its designers faced several engineering obstacles, including needing to rewire the hand throttle to a foot throttle and redesigning and rebuilding their battery management system. Along the route, they pushed their car to a maximum speed of 60 miles per hour and exploded a battery, ran into cloudy weather, death to solar cars that need to continuously recharge, and trailered and untrailered their car countless times. The team expected to be back in Durango on Tuesday with the car. Over the next couple of weeks, Solus may be visible along the streets of Durango as its temporary license remains in effect. For their stick-to-itiveness, the team was awarded the Guntis Tarauds Award, which is presented to the solar car team displaying the highest level of courage in the face of engineering obstacles. Fritiger was one of 9 students inducted into the Order of the Solar Cell, which is presented to those extremely special people who believe in high school solar car racing and the great students who make it happen.
USA Today reported transportation and travel are tightly intertwined, and this month they've celebrated the ways to get from point A to point B. From classic automobiles and historic train cars to stunt planes and historic ships, these forms of transportation sometimes become attractions in their own right. USA Today 10 Best enlisted the help of transportation enthusiasts to select 20 nominees in each of the categories of Best of Air Show, Best Car Show, Best Train Ride, Best Transportation Museum, and Best Museum Ship. For the past 4 weeks, their readership has been voting for their favorites, and the results are in. At number 1 for the trains are Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroad. It ranks among the most authentic steam-operated railroad still in existence. Passengers aboard this National Historic Landmark travel along a track laid in 1880 between Chama, New Mexico and Antonito, Colorado, passing through the San Juan Mountains and the scenic Conejo Valley, where it's possible to spot antelope and deer at play. Steaming up right behind it is the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad between Durango and Silverton, Colorado. The list continues with the Cass Scenic Railroad between Cass and Bald Knob, West Virginia, Napa Valley Wine Train between Napa and St. Helena, California, then the White Pass and Yukon Route Railroad between Skagway, Alaska, and Whitehorse, Yukon, Great Smoky Mountain Railroad, round trips from Bryson City, North Carolina, the Mount Washington Cog Railway to the top of Mount Washington, New Hampshire, Western Maryland Scenic Railroad between Cumberland and Frostburg, Maryland, and the Grand Canyon Railway between Williams and Grand Canyon, Arizona, with rounding out the top 10 at the Empire Builder between Chicago and Portland. Congratulations, Cumbres Toltec. On their website, they have a quote. It has been said, the West has to be seen to be believed, but it has to be believed to be seen. Credited to Kiowa poet North N. Scott Momaday. The authentic line was also awarded National Historic Landmark designation in 2012. The track between Antonito and Chama was part of the San Juan extension of the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad, with tracks running from Denver through the ore-rich Rocky Mountains into Silverton, Colorado. Its path through steep passes and deep gorges is the stuff of adventure novels and was an engineering feat for the time. Saturday evenings, July 4th through September 17th, they're offering a fantastic experience with dinner served at the Cumbres Pass along with live entertainment as part of the train event. Check out all their offerings at cumbrestoltec.com.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of July 18th through the 24th. A deputy took a report of landlord and tenant problems in the county. A county resident complained about neighbors spying on them. A deputy is investigating. The sheriff's office received a report of an unattended death. A deputy responded to a business deal gone bad, which elevated into threats between the parties involved. Dispatch took a report of harassment at the Rico Hotel, but a deputy was not requested by the reporting party. That's it for today's Roundup. Stay tuned tomorrow for more updates.
In today's High Country happenings, the second annual Boys and Girls Club of the Southern Ute Indian Tribe men's softball tournament will be held this weekend, the last weekend in July, and the San Ignacio Fiesta. $200 entry fee and home run derby with $10 entry fee. The first through third places are awarded MVP and all tourney awards. To sign up for or to get more details, call 970-563-4753. And the fourth annual Back to School Bash will be on August 4th at the Evangelical Assembly of God in Cortez. Families suffering economical hardships in need are encouraged to participate. Free backpacks with school supplies for K through 5th grade only. From 5 to 9 p.m., it's a first come, first serve. And the Cuts in the Hood will also offer free haircuts for K to 5 only. Four Corners Builders Association barbecue picnic is 6 p.m. at Centennial Park Pavilion near the Duck Pond for FCBA members, friends, and their families. FCBA provides food, soft drinks, and water. You may bring a side dish. Potential new members are welcome. Please respond by email to fcba@questoffice.net or leave a message on the FCBA office voicemail at 970-565-1771. For more info online, visit fourcornersbuilders.com. All of the happenings are posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the embedded YouTube replays of the live show and the exclusive DCTV 5-day forecast. If you have an event, you can email us at dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station at 677-4119, and we'll be sure to get it on air.
Thanks for tuning in. This program is aired live at noon Monday through Wednesday and rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m. on Channel 32.1 Dolores County, on Channel 30.4 in Montezuma County, and their cable Channel 5.
Share this with a friend and watch the broadcast replayed on YouTube and now featured on the Facebook page. Please like us there and spread the word. Directly following this live broadcast, we have an in-studio guest, Wayne Johnson of the Southwest TV Translator Association. We'll be discussing the FCC low-frequency bandwidth issues and why it's important to you. That starts at 12:30, and if you have comments or questions, please call in during the live program.
For Kendra Cook, Jerry Tope, and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Stay tuned for Talk Tuesday, and then we'll see you back here again tomorrow.
Welcome to Talk Tuesday. Are we ready, Russ? All right. Welcome back to Talk Tuesday, and today we have in-studio guest Wayne Johnson from the Southwest TV Translator Association, and first we're going to ask him to just explain a little bit about what the Southwest TV Translator does, and then what the issue with the FCC, and then we'll open it up for you to call in if you have some questions or want to ask him, pick his brain, or ask him something about the issue. So welcome, and thank you for coming, and tell us a little bit about what the translator does.
Okay. The translator district was actually formed in 1979. Its legal name is Montezuma Dolores County Metropolitan Recreation District.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. And before that, it was Four Corners TV Club. And they found a need in 1979 because of some winter ice damage up on the hill to form a special district and have a steady source of funding every year to fund the translators. Well, time has gone on. It was analog then, and since that time we've gone digital and been able to expand the offerings to everybody. There's just a lot of channels out there.
A lot more channels. Yeah.
We maintain from Hesperus down to the state line. That's part of Lapata County, Montezuma County, and then we do the western portion of Dolores County, and we also maintain San Juan County, Utah also.
Okay.
So we go quite a ways, and there's around 125 translators or so, TV translators that we deal with. There's microwave inter-relaying, we do satellite coming in. So it's pretty extensive, but it's
keeps you busy.
It's been busy, but it is a good offering for everybody. We do have a lot of channels that people can tune into without having to purchase cable or satellite. So that is a plus.
Yes, that's a very good benefit for, especially in the rural areas like where we are here. So, for example, for Dolores County, tell us where we're getting our signal
Okay.
when we.
Dolores County, we have we have the tower here in Dolores. And that puts out the channel 32 plus all the sub-channels on that. And there are the Denver stations which serve the lower spot on the east side of Dove Creek that cannot get from Abajo or from Cold Spring. If you're up high enough to get Abajo Peak or Cold Spring, and then you'll receive receive all the Albuquerque, the 17s, you'll receive the 21s, movie channels, you'll receive the 22s, the 24s, the 26s, and the 30s. Plus you get all the Utah channels, which are channel 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 14, 16, and the new one over there is the 30s, which is KUCW and has a movie channel.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
and that's from up top of Abajo Peak.
And so you would suggest for people who are viewing this from their from their antenna to every once in a while give a new program just to check?
Scan.
Scan
You know,
it?
you may not want to scan when, let's say, a channel goes out, because what happens if your TV scans when a channel is out, then when that comes back, you will not get it automatically until you scan again. So give it a little time, give us a call, and we can let you know the status of that also.
Okay. And so the way it's being a transmitter, or can you explain how a transmitter, transponder, what the difference is,
Okay.
and how?
Well, let's just take Abajo Peak since that's relevant
Right, that's
to
for
Dolores
us.
County here. Abajo Peak is the end of the line for an extensive microwave system that goes throughout the state of Utah. Abajo Peak receives microwave from Emery County, and then there's like 3 hops to the pickup point of microwave. So as that signal is picked up from Salt Lake and brought down, each mountaintop then has a county there, and they pull the signal off and then pass it on, and San Juan County is the tail end of that. So from Abajo Peak, the signals are broadcast out to Monticello, Blanding, LaSalle, and then we have separate translator sites in Mexican Hat, in Bluff, and Montezuma Creek, Aneth. Now, we have a separate site over here that's the TV districts that we microwave across the Denver channels, the channel 30s, the 17s and things, and then broadcast those back out to Duck Creek.
So it comes all from that one point?
Yeah, you just aim it at the Bajo Mountain or the Blue Mountains, and you're going to get everything with the UHF antenna.
Right. And so so the concern that's coming up is the spectrum.
Spectrum auction, correct.
Right. So can you explain a little bit about what the history is?
Okay. Well, let's just go into a little bit of history with TV.
Okay.
When TV originally started years and years ago, it went from channel 2 to channel 83. So there was a lot of bandwidth there, and that wasn't always utilized.
And it was UHF?
Well, 2 to 13 is VHF.
VHF.
14 to 83 is UHF. Channels 70 to 83 was taken away for cell phones.
Okay, we're going to have to pause here because we...
Go ahead.
Hello, this is DCTV. You're live on the air. Hello? Oh, okay, speakerphone would help.
Question: How far does our signal from Dove Creek go?
How far does our signal from Dove Creek go? From the tower here on the courthouse?
Yeah. How far would our signal go?
If you have line of sight, Monticello can actually pick it up.
Okay.
So that's it's a omnidirectional antenna. And if you ever saw by the courthouse here on the south side, there's a white antenna right up on top of the tower. That's an omnidirectional, so it gives equal power directional. If you don't have line of sight, then once in a while you'll get it, but usually not. So, but we actually take the Dove Creek signal and we internet it down to Cortez, and then we put it on one of our channels, and then we shoot it back over to the Cold Springs and back out on channel, well, it was channel 30.4, but I believe it's 18.4 now. We renumbered it because of the conflict with the channel 30 on top. So you should be able to get it.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for calling. So you were talking about the history.
FCC took away channel 70 to 83 for cell service when cell service started. There was another, I call them confiscations, but they took the channel 60 to 69 away in another move. The most recent was channel 52 through 59. So there's been 3 prior takings of spectrum. All the TV broadcasters and translators that were in those spectrums had to move down to other channels. They had to go and apply for other frequencies. In 2012, January, a bill was presented to Congress called the Jobless Benefits, Middle Class Tax Relief and Jobless Benefits Bill. And it was a deep bill, but part of the bill, which a lot of your congressmen didn't even read, was in order to pay for this bill and pay for the benefits of this bill, they were going to take 500 megahertz of spectrum from different areas of what the FCC maintains across the country and takes care of. 120 megahertz of that, they decided to take all the broadcasters that are located channel 30 to 51 and move them all down. Full power broadcasters in big cities like KOB in Albuquerque, KJCT in Grand Junction, if they have to move, they will be reimbursed by the FCC and they will be allowed to stay on the air. The FCC said to some of the broadcasters, if you want to get out of broadcasting, we will purchase or it will pay you back. And so some broadcasters, we don't know which ones yet, that's been held private, have decided to get out of broadcasting. Right now, the broadcasters that have decided to get out of broadcasting, I believe it's about $84 or $86 billion is what they would like for that. The second part of the auction then went to the wireless companies, and they will come back and say, well, we'll pay this amount. Then they will try to meet in the middle. If that doesn't work, then they will actually take less spectrum. But let's just take what they're going to take, the channels 30 through 51. For example, in Utah translators, it's going to take about half the translators in Utah off the air. Hopefully there can be other channels to go to, but in a lot of communities there's not going to be other channels to go to, so we're pretty concerned about that. It's with translators also, the government is going to come in and the wireless companies are going to buy those frequencies. They will tell translators, you have 120 days to get off because we're going to start using it, and we will have to get off that channel. Hopefully we can find other channels, but we've been looking in particular in Montezuma County and San Juan County, Utah. There's just not a lot of other frequencies to go to. So right now we anticipate losing about half of our spectrum. Let me go back to a little thing here called virtual channels.
Okay.
As you watch the Utah channels, you're going to watch it on channel 2, channel 4, channel 5. Those are not actually the channels that they're broadcast on. That is called a virtual channel. It's a little piece of information inside of the stream of programming that tells your TV where it wants to be seen. So channel 13 is actually channel 36. So channel 40 is actually channel 7. So the Utah channels on Navajo Peak are channels 36 through channel 48. Every one of those at this time has to be moved. So we will have to find 10 open channels, which just right now is not possible for those to go to be able to stay on the air. This auction has taken a long time. It's taken 4 years now to get it going.
There was a lawsuit or something?
No, there's no. The lawsuits are very small, and they haven't done anything to stop. They dealt with Mako Communications and a couple of people just trying to either get in the auction or say they were eligible for the auction. Under a Class A was eligible, but LPTVs and translator are not eligible for the auction. So we're kind of held out there, and we're going to have to pay for this ourselves. But let's see, where was I headed with that? I lost my train of thought.
The virtual,
the virtual
and
channels.
You have to find the ones?
Yeah, we're going to have to find channels. Right now, we anticipate we could lose about half of our channels here. We will try to make it work. Technology is lagging behind. There are things on the table that they are looking at called ATSC 3.0, but it is a few years off down the road, and if that would be to come about, we could actually fit more channels within the space that we're allocated. Right now we can fit anywhere from about 4 channels up to about 7 channels within one 6 meg bandwidth, where one channel was when it was in the analog days. And so that's why you have a lot of channels. You'll have 4, and they have their main channel in HD, then you'll have 4.1, 4.2. You know, it just is really nice to be able to have those extra channels because those are standard definition. But some of this is going to go away over the next few years. It's taken 4 years. This administration, when they were elected in, I believe it was 2008. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a lot of, and I could say, this is my opinion, and from what I've seen is there's a lot of paybacks. There's a lot of people that are companies that give a lot of money. We see the Googles, the Microsofts, the AT&Ts, the Verizon, and they want spectrum, and they're wanting more and more spectrum. Well, the government is realizing money from this, so during the first, from the 2008 to 2012, this plan was put in motion, and then it was elected on in January of 2012. In December of 2011, I spoke to our congressman about this bill. He was unaware of this provision in there. He looked at it. We talked a few times. He still voted for it. He says, they say there's going to be no problem. We're looking 4 years later that this thing is coming to fruition,
Right.
and it's going to be a big problem. We are running scared. I go to conventions. We talk all the time about what are we going to do, and so we're all trying to look at what are we going to do out there. It's a big machine, the government is, and when the government gets their eyes on land that they want for a national monument, or they get their eyes on spectrum that they want from the public, the airwaves, it's hard to stop that machine. I don't know if letters ever do it, but we've talked. We've sent people to Washington. We've tried alerting people to it, but most people are not going to react until they lose channels.
They lose it.
And then that's going to be too late.
Right. It's the same with the land.
Well, and what's coming is you're going to see a lot of the broadband, and they feel that broadband is the future. The millennial generation and the younger generation coming up, they don't watch things when they come on at 7 o'clock or when they come on at 9 o'clock. They will binge watch. They will watch Netflix, or they'll do Amazon. They'll sit down when they want to watch something. They'll go to CBS. And things are changing, but I don't think they're changing that fast. That may be the future, but it's down the road a ways. There's still a lot of people that like to watch things at 7 o'clock at night. They'll sit down and watch the news at 6.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Well, and if you had any further questions out there, again, the number is 677-4119. If you want to call in during the live show, which is at the 12:30. If you're watching this on a rebroadcast in the evening, then you'll have to check the Facebook page if you want to continue the conversation. But so the frequencies, what are they planning to use? That this is more bandwidth for the cellular companies?
It's for broadband.
For broadband,
they're wanting to take that for broadband, and they've already divvied it up. They want to give some free spectrum to, I believe it is to like what they call it, white spaces, and so it'll be like your what you would use in your home for your wireless internet in your houses. They will sell devices and things like that. There's a lot of stuff on the horizon. You know, your Google cars, which will not have a driver, and they'll be controlled that way. They're experimenting with that right now. There are a lot of things on the horizon, and that they feel that they need bandwidth for. In major metro areas, I see that happening. In rural areas, I don't see that happening. The bandwidth that they have taken already from 52 to 59 and from 60 to 69, we can put a spectrum analyzer at it and we can look at the spectrum around. They're not using very much of that, what they've already taken. So the rural areas, we're kind of going to be feeling the brunt of this, because rural areas, there's over 5,000 translators out across the country. And that is going to be a huge, huge cut in a lot of small communities that depend on translators. Right now, Montezuma County is pushing about 50% antenna, and you're going to find that same figure anywhere from 30 to 50% in most rural communities in Utah and across Colorado that depend on translators.
Are the Gwen Towers, is that part of that same thing?
What's
the
that?
Gwen Towers, as far as the...
I'm not sure those two.
Okay, I will get back on that and do a story on that maybe next week, because that's some of the things. More in the urban areas, for sure, is what they're utilizing.
They're going to be utilizing this in urban areas. It's just frequencies are hard to find in urban areas. I was talking to my microwave people, and they tell me how hard it is to find microwave frequencies in the Denver metro area.
Wow.
Just everything is being used, and people try to slip things in here and slip things in there. Rural areas, it's pretty open.
Pretty open. And the Rural Colorado Watchdog, are you familiar with them? That they are interested in getting, again, the Public Utilities Commission recently determined that investing in telecom infrastructure in rural Colorado wasn't necessary. Are you familiar with this?
No, I'm not familiar with it at all.
Because they're also trying to get more of the broadband infrastructure to.
Well, broadband's a big issue. Everybody is screaming for more broadband. Montezuma County is looking at an item in November on the election to opt out of the state
SB 152.
Yes, and then to do a 1 cent sales tax is what I understand. I just saw part of it, and I'll need to look at it a little closer. But they're wanting to fund broadband throughout Montezuma County. But all your rural counties are saying we need more broadband, but at what cost? Is it at the cost of free TV? And it may be, but if that's the will of the people, that's what we'll end up doing.
And so we need to know what the will of the people is. If they don't know, they really won't know until it's taken away.
Until it's taken away, and that'll happen. We will try to, ease that as much as we can, but we have a lot of channels out there for people that want to watch free TV.
Yeah, I know from our viewership that they really do appreciate the range and the depth of the different unique channels too. That there's not just when you went to the 500 cable channels, some people thought it was a wonderful thing, and then it became 500 channels of nothing they wanted to watch.
No shopping.
Right, or the shopping channel. So, so anyway, if you do have a question, or I know there was a person who came in earlier who wanted to know what the impetus for starting our pilot program here was. That part of wanting to make it relevant for the local channel to stay on? Or do you feel
We've
that?
always been a believer in local. If we can do that, there's the startup here with DCTV. I was in on that with Dan when that initially started, and it's been a great thing. I think people have appreciated seeing the kids at 5 o'clock during the school year doing the news at 4:30 or whatever time it is and things. And with the news now, this has been an experiment, and so it's been fun to see it come about. There's a gentleman, Cortez, that does a half-a-day deal on Mesa TV, called Mesa, I guess it's Mesa TV, and does some local news down there and there. And Durango is getting into that a little bit too, but I think that's the future. The full-power broadcasters are under a lot of constraints with money and things like that. There's a lot of mergers going on. They are skeleton crews in their engineering and things like that. I just got word the other day that one of the big stations in Albuquerque was going to be selling. And I thought that was kind of interesting because it's a big affiliate. And but you're going to see some of this put together like this, but they don't have the money or manpower to come out and do stories in the small areas unless it bleeds.
Right.
I mean, unless it's a big things, or there's a lot of people upset. The National Monument brought a lot of people in on that. Forest fires do, and things like that. But the small things that happen in town, the dog got loose and ran through the grocery store or something. Things like that just aren't gonna cut it.
Which are news for the locals.
They are news for the local, and that's what we like, that small town flavor.
Extends the coffee shop concept.
Exactly.
That's
good.
Talking there. Yeah. Watch the major networks even on the news, and they almost have the same videography as well as the same storylines.
They all buy from the same pool of photos.
So that's not a lot to choose from at this
it's
point.
not.
But well, we hope that we are doing well by our community and trying to grow the viewership also through online. So that is kind of an interesting combination of the YouTube follow-up, so that that can make it a
just as an example. It's kind of interesting. We have a channel in Cortez called Say What TV. Which is a local announcement, so a lot of public service announcements, Little League, swim, things like that are going on, school registration and things like that. In addition to that, she did a Facebook page along with that, and that is actually bigger, we feel, than the online deal on the TV. So, but they complement each other, and I believe that broadcasting can do that. We can complement the online social media side of that.
Sure.
Because a lot of people that are walking around with their smartphones don't have a TV at home. I know of a lot of couples that they have foregone having the TV, and they'll pull out the computer if they want to watch something.
Or Netflix, as you said, the streaming, if they can do that, if they have the data, which is hard out here. But
I was talking to the one internet service provider in Cortez, and he says, and he provides a wireless over there, and he says, in the evenings I am nothing more than a Netflix provider. So that's what he said.
Pretty much, yeah. So, well, we hope that this will continue and you can find the channels and make things work. And we really appreciate bringing a spotlight to it, because I think, and one of the things that can be on a grassroots local issues are these kind of things that people don't have the time really in their lives to read, and not only the politicians who should be reading them, but it doesn't get out to the community. So this is really important, I feel. So I'm really thankful.
And I'd welcome emails also. Our email address is Southwest Colorado TV, SWCOTV @frontier.net. And welcome all emails, and we respond to them. Or you can call it 565-2129, and if we're around, we'll answer your questions. So just give us a ring, and if you have a question or you have an outage, we'll talk with you and try to fill see what your problem is with your antenna. A lot of times it's antenna problems. Or,
Yes, well, there's a lot of
things like
wind in
that.
our
A
area
lot
that
of
can
winds
take
like
it
that.
off.
And we do have, every once in a while, a couple of years ago, we had a large lightning hit on Baja
On the
and then
Bajas.
on Cavness, and everything was out that weekend. So those things do
It
happen.
happens. But, well, we really appreciate you coming in and
bet.
spending time, and all that info will be on the Facebook page too, so you can check it there. And thank you very much for
Okay,
coming
thank
in.
you. You bet.
All right, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.